My name is Dena Slye, formerly known as Dena Tyson. I played at the University of Washington from 2003 to 2007. I was an All-American there my senior year, but there is a story behind that. I went to the College World Series 3 of my 4 years. I currently am coaching travel softball. I am also working with our young athletes with their mental training and helping them through that journey of becoming the best version of them. It doesn't always have to be an All-American, but truly my mission in life is to make everyone the best version of themselves. So we're here, and I'm trying to figure out how we got here. And I think it originally started with people reaching out to me when we started losing student athletes to suicide. And I put myself out there already. I wrote a book, Focus Up. I had started some mental training things, and people were reaching out like, hey, Dena, how do you feel about what's going on? We would love to hear from you. And I didn't know at the time what to say or how to say. I struggled with it a little bit, and they kept saying like, our student athletes need you. I would get these messages in my inbox that student athletes need you. And I think that's one of the first things that I want to address is that, no, it's not student athletes that need us. It's truly everyone needs us. This isn't just a student athlete thing. I think that when you look at it, everyone in the world is struggling. It's not just student people that go to college and play sports. Is that I'm sure if you did research, there's more people taking their lives than just student athletes. Is that, to be honest, I've heard of people my age and older than me taking their lives. So it's simply, everyone has a heavy. I call it heavy. Like, I think when I think about suicide, I'm like, man, something heavy was on them. And that heavy they couldn't get rid of. And so yes, obviously there's this pressure when you step onto campus, and when we talk about sports, is that obviously you're going to have to play sports, you're gonna wanna win, you're gonna wanna be successful, and that pressure is huge. But I don't think it started in college. And I want to address that, is because I'm gonna be honest with you, I see pressure everywhere, not just in college. Is that I can speak softball, I coach travel ball, I have 3 sons who play football and Little League, and you talk about pressure, like, let's be real, let's stop saying that they get to college and the pressure's too much. Because I'm like, we throw a lot of pressure on our kids now. So it's not just college, and I think that that's where we have to say, hey, no, the youth also struggles with pressure. As I can go back and remember in 5th grade, and this may sound crazy, but maybe this helps a parent out, because I don't even believe that my parents know. But in 5th grade, I remember learning about death, and it freaked me out. I would be in my bed at night, and my mind was, obviously in 5th grade, I know this is anxiety, but in 5th grade, I'm in bed, and I'm like, I knew when the thoughts were coming about, like, one day I'm gonna have to die, I would tell myself, go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. And I can remember doing this, like, vividly, is go to bed, go to bed, go to bed, in my head, this anxiety, and this is in 5th grade. So I think that we have to stop with this got to college and it was too much. Is that our kids, they're struggling with things right now and we haven't touched on it. And I think that that's what I really want to address, is that we need to address the pressures now. We need to address this anxiety. And I'm like, if you know my journey, I had this, it came to find out I had a fear of failure, and I addressed my fear of failure, and that's what made me an All-American and all those things. But I'm like, looking at it, I had fears my whole life. I'm in 5th grade in my bed crying at night because I'm like, oh my gosh, one day I'm gonna die. So I want us to understand, let's stop saying that, man, they got to college and the pressure was too hard. When, let's be honest, they probably have been dealing with pressures their whole lives, but maybe we just didn't check in. And so I want that to be our focal point, is that we're checking in at a young age. And that fear of failure that I had to get over, and I don't want to say get over because I didn't ever get over fear of failure. What I did is that I learned how to use fear of failure as a catalyst. and how it made me the better version of me instead of the 3 years or really my whole life, how fear of failure stopped me from being the best version that I can be. And so when I get emotional because I'm like, please stop saying that college is so hard and all this pressure that they're going through. Is that yes, college is hard, but now I'm 38 and I can tell you I've been to 3 College World Series. I've failed many times in that level of softball, and I can tell you it has no comparison to the pressures of life. The pressures of being a mother, the pressures of being a wife, the pressures of being a teacher. Like real life, softball's easy compared to that. And so what I want to say, or what I want people to understand, is that it wasn't college softball, or it wasn't the pressure of sports that made them take their lives. They had something heavy on them and they couldn't get the heavy off of them. And to them, their only way to get heavy off of them was to take their lives. But I know then is that what I say is that whether they would have gotten past college, I feel like something in life would have been heavy and we would have lost them either way. It was something that was almost inevitable that was going to occur. And I can say this because my journey to being an All-American, that was easy compared to my journey after college. And so after college, as I graduated in 2007, I had my first son in 2008. I had my next son in 2010. I had my last son in 2011. And obviously the bounce back from the third child did not happen. I had a huge weight gain, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that I knew it. I lived in this denial phase, and you can be in denial easily because you're raising a family. I had 2 jobs. Is that all these things? I lived in denial, and I think that what sucks about denial is it increases the heavy, and so it was almost like as I gained more weight, the more denial I got in, and the heavier I got. And I think when you look at what's going on with our kids, they hit a rock bottom. That definition of rock bottom, when you are to the point where you say, there's nothing else I have left and I'm going to take my life, that's a rock bottom. And I hit a rock bottom during my phase after college. And I can remember, and what's crazy is that most people don't have their rock bottom documented. And mine is documented. I have my rock bottom, it's on video, and I don't think I ever would have shared it with the world until I did start seeing that maybe my story needs to come out. Is that the rock bottom and understanding all those good things. And so documentation, I honestly kind of got to blame my sister, Tori, for having Skylar doing gymnastics, because let's be real, she's too tall to be doing gymnastics. But Skylar was out here, she was doing gymnastics, and you know how the Tysons are. When we're doing something, we're gonna come together. So we all went to her little session before lessons to watch her do her gymnastics. And I always laugh, because I'm from the age of Dominique Dawes, Carrie Strug. Like when you were in gymnastics, you stuck. And like the USA Olympics, you remember the stick. And so Skylar was upsetting me a little bit because she wasn't sticking. And I remember being like, oh, after this, I'm gonna show her how to stick. And so we were sitting there, and after we get done and we all go outside, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this cartwheel and I'm gonna show you how to stick it. And I think that goes back to the denial, is that in my head, I didn't realize how big I've gotten. And I'm like, I've always been able to cartwheel, I've always been able to stick, so I can do this. And so I do say that heavy, it's heavy, but I was in denial.
Go.
Maybe your gymnastics.
Ours was like this.
Ours are like this.
I think you can do both. Oh.
So I do the cartwheel, and you guys will see it. I don't stick it. I couldn't stick because I didn't land, and I completely failed. And it was hilarious. I get it was funny, all those good things, and I was still good. And then my mom, she put it in group, and I remember watching it, and I was like, whoa, I didn't realize how big I've gotten. I was highly embarrassed. And the first thing you do, sorry husbands, is that I attacked my husband. I called him and was like, how could you let me get this big? Like, I remember sitting in the car and I was crying, and he's like, what's going on? I'm like, how did you let me get this big? And I don't know, I was broken. And everyone knows who follows me is that I'm a huge Russ fan, and he has this line in a song, and he says that breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. And this was a breakdown for me. And I think what I want you guys to get out of this is watching that video. Without watching that video, I don't have this breakdown. I maybe still live in denial. I just laugh about it. I joke about it. Ha ha ha, I fell doing a cartwheel. But if I don't look at this video, I don't have this breakdown. And so what I say let's be real. I know a lot of athletes are going to be watching this. So what I say to you is watch video. Watch yourself failing. Watch yourself losing a tough game. Do all those things because it will help you. Don't be in denial about what happened. Go see the truth. And I think that that's what happened, is that video was my truth. And I was like, man, this is intense. But I will say is that why you want to look at failures and why you want to fail is that you have to develop some kind of coping skills. And the coping skills can't start when you get to the next level. And I think that the coping skills must occur at a very young age. And I do have to thank my dad for that. He was very adamant because if you know a little bit of his story, he was released by certified mail from the Cubs. And he said he was not ready for that. He hadn't been ready for real world failure and things like that. And he said that his kids would never feel that. And I think growing up, we were able to, although it was intense, we were able to develop some really good coping skills from failure. And so even though that video was a breakdown, I had coping skills. And there's a weekend that always sticks out to me. We were playing Arizona, and on Friday we played Arizona. Saturday, Sunday we played Arizona State. And man, it was one of those weekends where I can honestly say I struck out, it felt like at least 9 times. Because we'll say I had 3 at-bats in each game, but we didn't because we had great pitching on both sides. And man, we were going extra innings. I couldn't touch the ball. I struck out every at-bat. So like when we talk about heavy, that was heavy. And I can remember like, ooh, I wasn't a crier, but I was like, man, this was intense. I couldn't, like, so when I see like people like, man, the pressures of sports, I get it. Because that weekend was heavy for me. But I do want to also address is that when you're feeling heavy, you don't always have to be failing. Because let's be real, the young lady we lost from JMU, she won the Player of the Week in her conference that week. So it's not always about failure, but I do understand how when you fail, you can get heavy and you can feel lost. But if we develop coping skills at a young age, and I think that I was able to develop it, so although I was emotional, and I had some coping skills. And I got through it, and I remember my father calling me. He didn't call me on Sunday because I think he knew, right? So that's all, know your person. And he called me on Monday, and he was doing a check-in, and I made it maybe one sentence before my voice cracked. And he was up there by Tuesday. And I tell people like why failure is so huge and why you don't want your children to run from failure is that was the weekend that everyone talks about, is that when Marty had challenged me to be an All-American, and he had shown me that I did have a fear of failure. So without this breakdown, I don't have this breakthrough. So you do have to fail, and I think too many times we try to make sure or secure that our children don't fail when it's truly something that they need to do, and start getting used to it, because you're gonna fail in life. But what we want to give them is coping skills, and I thank my dad for that, is that because without that weekend, I probably don't ever become an All-American because of that challenge and because I struck out every single at bat, and although it was heavy, all it really happened was some tears. So then after I see that cartwheel, I went on a mission. And I'd already kind of like done some research about weight loss surgery, but I was still unsure about it. So I've been like 2 or 3 years searching into it. And that cartwheel happened in November. I had the surgery in December. I wasn't playing the games. I did research, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be in like that fear of failure. So it was almost like a mission again, like, okay, I'm on a mission to lose weight. And I was like, I'm not gonna be that story that I gained all the weight back. Like, I am going to grind. I'm gonna get this weight back. I'm gonna do all these things. And we went through a year, and I lost 100 pounds. I was like, you know what? I think that I should tell my story. I didn't hide it. I didn't hide that I got surgery, but I hadn't posted it. Like, when people asked me, I was very honest about my surgery. And I was like, you know what? It's been a whole year. I've dropped 100 pounds. I'm gonna post it on social media. And I posted on social media about the weight loss surgery and how you can use it as a tool. And I was posting my journey of my working out and all these good things. And I don't know. This is what I say to my heavy, my girls who carry heavy. I get it. Because although everything seemed right, is that I was where I wanted to be, I was looking good, I was getting the compliments, I was helping people, something was wrong. I was still feeling heavy. And I didn't understand why I was still feeling heavy. So the first thing that I want to say to my girls that are heavy is that you gotta find your heavy. And so it wasn't until my video resurfaced. My mom found the video again of me doing the failed cartwheel.
Go.
Mine, maybe your gymnastics.
Ours was like this.
Ours are like this. Ours
I think you can do both. Oh.
And I can remember being like, whoa. Like, man, this is my heavy. I thought it was losing weight and I would be good, I would feel free, but I wasn't. And then seeing that video again, and then me telling the story, because I would get those questions a lot, like, what made you get the surgery? What was your rock bottom? And then I would tell them the story about the cartwheel. And then I started noticing, like, wow, I'm actually tearing up. I'm getting choked up telling the story. So I found my heavy. And I think that's one of the first things that you guys are gonna do, is that when you're trying, you don't understand, you don't know you're heavy. So that's number one. Number one, you have to find what's making you heavy. And I think that I was wrong for so long because I thought it was the weight and I would be freed. I wasn't freed. And then I realized, okay, shoot, my heavy was me, like the cartwheel. That cartwheel was it. And so then what's second? What do you guys need to do second? You gotta release your heavy. And I think this is the hardest part of me getting out, me talking about it, is that releasing my heavy. And my sister, Dominique, she was actually the one that was my outlet. She let me release my heavy. She let me get it out one day after lessons, as I was like, okay, how do I release heavy? One of the first things I did is I was like, I have to get this out here. I wasn't ready to give it out to everyone, but I put it in the family group. I said, hey, you guys, this is huge for me. Here's the video of the cartwheel. I'm not ready to put it out to the world, but this is a big step for me. So I think they got that, and that was huge. So then after lessons, I'm sitting there, and my sister Dominique was like, we were talking about it, and I told her, I said, so like to release the heavy, I told her, I said, you know, it's crazy, sis. I was like, I still can't do it. I can't bring myself to do the cartwheel. And when I tell you guys, like, it's still heavy, but I've released the heavy. So like, don't think you're gonna get past this, because I can guarantee you, and we're gonna talk about it, I'm past my heavy, but still discussing it hurts. And so I tell my sister, I said, hey, Dom, I can't. I said, I can't do it. I've tried. When no one's looking, I was like, I've tried to do the cartwheel. I can't do the cartwheel. And I think that I'm Dena. I'm their big sister. Like I'm not the crier. And so what I want everyone to understand is that your role as an outlet is that, yes, receive it, but also you have to accept it. You can't be judgmental. And I think that that's why Dom was so amazing at being my outlet, is because she could have easily been like, girl, you lost over 100 and something pounds and you over here emotional about a cartwheel. But no, she accepted it and she understood how heavy it was. So that is so important as the outlet, is that you must accept it. You can't judge it, because really your reaction to somebody could alter their life. Your reaction to, please listen to me, your reaction to their heavy can alter their life. So if someone has entrusted in you to give them their heavy, receive it and accept it with no judgment. And I think that lastly, you want to help them get rid of it. And you'll see, like, this is why I think I get so emotional talking about my sister. She was everything that an outlet needed to be, because she helps me get rid of it. And I want to address one thing about it, because something that I came across this week, and someone used the word barking. Like, you know, like everyone doesn't want to hear barking. And if you know the Tysons, you know that we talk to each other a kind of way, and we say things that we're kind of blunt, and it's there. And I will say that you could say that Dominique was barking at me, but I don't believe it was barking, because I know what she told me in her choice words. It was pretty much, you're going to do this cartwheel within a month. Like, she wrote me an amazing text message, but she also let me know, you're going to do this cartwheel. We're going to get rid of this and go ahead and knock this out. So I say, like, when you guys are thinking that someone's attacking you or you think it's barking, if you know that what they're saying to you is truly from a place of love and they want you to be the best version of you, it's not barking. So get past that, because I could have been offensive if I told her I'm over here broke down crying and she told me I got a month to do this cartwheel. I could have been upset, like, don't bark at me. But no, I understood it was from a place of love. So I do want you guys to understand that, because sometimes the outlet may have to be a little bit rough. And that was what she did. So don't take it as barking if you know truly that it's out of a place of love. So lastly, is that what do you have to do? You have to get rid of it. And it was time for me to get rid of it. And I say there's two things of like how I got rid of it. It was Memorial Day weekend. I got rid of it. And I do say this to people that may be not living their heavy right now, is that live your life to the fullest, because you never know who's watching. And that's kind of what happened. Is Dominique is an amazing auntie, and they're in the pool. We're Memorial Day weekend, and we're hanging out at my dad's. And if you know my sons and you know Dom, they're gonna compete. And they were having front flip competitions in the pool. And I remember my sister came out and was like, come watch this front flip. And I'm like, so you out here doing front flips in the pool? And like, to me, like the biggest thing I had like finally, like I was trying to get a little bit trying to release a little bit of heavy. And I would say one of the things I did is I wore a bikini to Memorial Day. And I always say, like, another thing about outlets, I'm going back to outlets again, is that my husband, he didn't say anything that day. Like, I remember when I took off my swimsuit and I was in a bikini, and I was so self-conscious. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in a bikini. And so we got to the day, and I remember that night, we laid down and we were going to bed, and he was like, hey, that was big of you. I want you to know I noticed that. You were a bikini. And I'm just like that's huge with, I think that outlets have to understand, like, you guys are so important. When you know that someone's gone out their comfort zone or they've done things like that, don't make a big deal out of it. But it's sometime like, hey, let them know. Good job. So I go outside and I go to watch Dom, because she's like, hey, come out here and see my flip. My flip is better than all of them. And so I go out there and she does this flip. And I just kind of looked at her and I'm like, you know what? She came up and she after she flipped, and I was like, hey, I'm ready. Let's go. And she instantly knew. And so she was like, all right, here we go. Let me get my phone. And we went out to the front yard. And this time, my kids don't know. My sons don't really know what's going on. But they come outside and I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready. And I start tearing up again. I'm emotional. I'm starting to cry. And my sons are giving me the look like, Mom, what is going on? And so I did a few practice runs. I got the flip going. And I always say, is like, this is why it is important to have such an amazing outlet, because you're gonna see I did my flip, I landed my flip, but my first flip, I was still like self-conscious. It wasn't where I needed it to be. And I think that that's why my sister's amazing. She's like, hey, You think you can do another one? And I do feel like that's why teams always find a way to win, because she's an amazing coach. Like, she pushed me. She's like, hey, I think you got one where there's a no slow down. And I can remember, so I went and I did it a second time. I do the flip, and you can see like my kids are screaming, Dom's screaming, and I say that instance of light, because we talk about heavy, is that I truly understood what it means when you let go of the heavy.
Set. Go. Yes, sir.
And so instantly is that you feel that light. So to my heavy, I get it. So after letting go of the heavy, like that light, you can feel it. My alarm going off at 5:30 to work out, it was hard to wake up. I was like, But now, like, I hop out of bed. I haven't had those sluggish days because the heavy's gone. And so what I want to, as I'm closing this, what I want you guys to understand, and this is to everybody. So to my first is to my heavies, is that first you have to figure out your heavy. And that's so important. Figure out what is holding you down. Figure out why you're not okay. And then number two, you got to release it. You got to get it out. And I think that me trying to cover it up for so long that I'm fine, I'm okay, is that that's what made it so bad. You have to release it. And lastly, you got to get rid of it, because it will weigh you down. And now enjoying life light, like, man, this feels amazing. And I'm not going to say that you're not going to get heavy again. But I do think that once you learn these mechanisms and these coping skills of how to get out of it and figuring out ways to get out of it, you're going to get out of it faster. You're going to have these ways to help you get out, and it's so important. And then second, to my outlets, you have to receive. You have to be ready to receive, and you have to accept with no judgment. That is so important. And then help them get rid of it. Because if as long as it's there, it's going to be heavy and life is going to be hard. Help them get rid of it. And then here's to my girls who are telling me, not to my girls, I hate when I do that. This is to anybody who is watching this, is that if you don't have an outlet and you truly feel that you don't have an outlet that will receive and accept and help you get rid of it with no judgment, then I am here. And is that I want you guys to understand this, is that yes, I'm associated with the Angels. Yes, I'm associated with Washington. Yes, I'm associated with the Pac-10. But ultimately, what I want to be associated with is making everybody the best version of themselves. So if you feel that you have no one to talk to, I am here to receive. I am here to accept with no judgment, and I will help you get rid of it. So you are never alone. If you need me, please find me. Breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. Man, we did it. Now, you got it. You got the magic.